Hi, everyone. Ooh, boy, oh boy, we got a fun episode for you. We really just had such a blast, and you're in for a treat. Before you get that sweet treat, we have got to do something we love to do, which is to shout out our newest patrons on the Patreon. They are our sweet treat. We love them so. And the first one up, we have a new champion for actress rights. They're going to have a lot of information to be fueled on with this episode. And it's Ashley Trigan. Ashley, welcome. Thank you for the important work that you do. We also have some new vessel heads. I think their vessel heads are also going to find something in this episode. So
something for everyone.
A feast for all. And we have to welcome Leanne Challenger, Laura Hain, Mallory Crow, and Laura Loves Nasty Nightgowns Smith.
Ooh,
Welcome to all. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate you. You are our sweet treat.
I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again. Next up, we have our newest members of Toni fucking Collette's Inner Circle. And boy, do we have a sweet treat for you, sweet treats. But there is some sweet, sweet info about our dear, dear Toni that's coming your way. Stay tuned at the end of this episode just to find out how sweet she really is. Okay, so there are so many of you. We have Oliver Jackson, Una Rose, Tessa Foster, Ashley Bloom, Jenna Gonzalez, Cecilia Lujano, Seffet, Crimson Russell, Kea Lee Harmony, Daniel Duer, Annabella Rollinson, Margaret Flaming, Christina, Kelsey Middleton, Thomas Wales, Andrea Schneider, DL, Gia Baptista, Killian Sanders, Nathaniel Barbian, Denisio Truitt, Blacklink Firelink, Ash Gray Carlson, John Sansone, Rosa, Rachel Taylor, and Pizza Sheet.
Woo-wee, baby! Hen, you knocked that out of the goddamn park.
Thank you.
Just want to point out that Jenna Gonzalez is going to be Silent Jenna's name when she marries Emily.
I can't wait.
And I will make her change her name. I will make her. Marry me. Change your name.
And we have just one more person to thank, someone who has upgraded, who I'll never get sick of saying this name. It is Taylor Lautner's wig.
Thank you, Taylor Lautner's wig.
And just one more little piece of info for you guys. On Patreon, you can change your little avatar photo, and it is a photo of Taylor Lautner with that beautiful long hair.
Gorgeous. That real hair, that long real hair.
If you would like to become a patron, you can do so by heading to patreon.com/TSDW podcast. Many, many sweet treats await you. Our dear sweet treats for sweet treats all around.
Sweeties get sweeties.
And, oh my God. And yeah, you guys are just going to fucking love this episode. So enjoy.
Hope you're hungry.
This is Emily,
Henley,
and Sammy. And you're listening to Too Scary Didn't Watch.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Too Scary Didn't Watch, the horror movie recap podcast for those too scared to watch for themselves. I'm Emily, and I am too scared to watch scary movies.
I'm Henley, and I'm also too scared to watch scary movies.
I'm Sammy, and I love scary movies, so I watch them so that you don't have to, and I tell you all about them.
Oh, she's so good at it, too. God. She's so fucking good at it.
That's just become an official part of the intro is every time Henley has to go, God, she's good at it.
She's great at it.
She's
so good.
She is. What's up with us this week?
Okay, well, I don't think I've talked about this yet, but I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm really into a new TV show. It's really important.
Okay.
So Tim and I need a really low stakes show to watch when we're putting Silas to bed. So we started watching The Voice, and I've never seen it before, but it is honestly so fucking entertaining. Watching Ariana Grande and John Legend like hang out together. I mean, genius. Why not? I'm really enjoying it.
Great.
Love Kelly Clarkson. Have never thought about Kelly Clarkson once in my entire life. And now I'm watching her every night on a TV show, and she's the fucking best. I love her.
How often is it on? Is it a weekly show? Or
it's
is
on
it
twice a week, and one of those nights, it's an hour and 45-minute show.
Damn. That's some Bachelor shit.
That's some Bachelor shit.
It's really so much content, and I just gotta say, I'm really enjoying myself.
Wow. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I was about to say, you have talked about this before on the podcast, but it's because you've talked about it to me, because my thing is that I saw Henley last week in the flesh.
So jealous.
We went to New York. It was great. You know, I know I've been talking about New York is over because I'm really mad that Henley moved there. But maybe now, that's a thought, we all move there, is sort of how I'm feeling.
Just a thought.
Just a thought.
I'm considering it. I'm in.
I text like 10 of my closest friends. That's a lie. 4. I don't how many close friends do I think I have?
I was going to say, Jesus, 10.
I was like, that's insane. I literally, I think texted 4 people, and I was like, so do we want to move to New York? Because also, you know, I think it's not fair to LA, the juxtaposition between New York and LA right now. You know, we've been locked in our homes, and then I went to New York and was like, oh my God, you can walk everywhere, you can go everywhere, you can see everything. I'm in the park, I'm in a restaurant, I'm in a bar. Like, it just felt so good to be in New York.
It feels like that. It feels like that all the time.
No, it never doesn't. You liar.
It never stops feeling like that.
Also, yeah, I'm like, I'm such a baby when it comes to cold, so I know that I'd have really a hard time. But I'm just floating it that maybe we move to New York at some point. Also, it's so good to see Henley and sweet Silas, who is just really freaking cute. A real treat. New York is great.
I just have to say, like, Emily, it's almost cruel of you to be just dangling this in front of my face.
Hey, Henley, you moved, man. You're the one who moved.
It's on you, Hen.
You're the one who moved.
Move back. I might need to move back. I don't know.
What if you move back and we move to New York?
That would be really fun.
That's what you get, Henley. No, I would be devastated. I'd be devastated. I had never been to Brooklyn before, which is crazy. I'd only been to Manhattan. And truly being in Brooklyn for a week is what made me think, oh, I could live here. Like, it changed everything for me. Brooklyn is great. Who knew? Everyone except for me. And so one thing I did want to say, this is not necessarily New York related, but we did this while we were in New York. On our last night there, also, it's just like really hard to do New York every single night for 6 nights. Like, I felt very physically bad. But on our last night, we're going to do a big dinner with our friends. We went to a steakhouse. It's like a tradition with Joel and his friends that they do like a big New York dinner when they're there. And you guys know I haven't really done red meat for very long in my life. I just the past few years was like, I'm going to eat steak. And so we got this dinner. I got some Wagyu steak, which is a thing I've only ever heard about.
Sounds fancy.
It's fancy. And it's also those cows are treated very nicely. So it feels like a nice way to eat steak. The meat is so good because the cows, as far as I understand,
they're happy.
They get massages. It's like the best life for a.
I had no idea.
It's the best way to live if your goal is to be killed, is those cows. And so I was like, oh,
and that is their goal. And that is their goal.
That's their ambition. And I was like, I'll try that. And it was, I took 3 bites. It was so rich. It was very good, but intense. And anyway, we were people at dinner were like, oh, we're going to get the meat sweats tonight. And I was like, aha, what a funny joke we're all telling. And then I went to sleep. I woke up 2 hours later and was like, I'm dying. I felt so physically ill in a way that I was like, human beings are fucking doomed. We just spent so much money to be fancy dinner, to then just I felt my body being like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I couldn't sleep it was
so you got the meat sweats.
I got the meat sweats.
Oh, no.
And it just made me what are we doing? What are we doing as humans?
Excess. We're just indulging ourselves before the end times.
Massaging cows to then eat a few bites and then feel like dying. It's a very crazy cycle.
Wow.
Anyway, I love New York. I love New York.
I love New York.
God, I love New York. What's up with you, Sammy?
Well, speaking of traveling, I just wanted to do a quick temperature check on your guys's desire to go to London to see Abba perform as holograms with me.
100 degrees is my temp. Is the temperature hot if you want to do it?
I haven't heard of this. This is a thing? What is this?
Yes. Okay. So ABBA recently released a new album after 40 years.
40 years.
I know. And they recorded a live show in like motion capture. And so they're building a stadium or like a concert venue that's, I think, just called like the ABBA venue or something like that in London, where it's specially designed for these holograms, and it will be them as they looked in 1979 performing all of their songs, and it's just only in London, and I just like have to go. And so it would be nice if you guys also wanted to go, because I'll go by myself.
No, I would go,
but I'd have more fun if somebody went with me.
I love the narrative of you going to that by yourself, but I will go with you. Also, I want to see the motion capture taping. I really want to see that.
There is absolutely YouTube videos of it.
Great.
You can see it.
I want to watch everything that uses motion capture. I want the raw footage.
It's so funny. You love your Dan Stevens in his beast costume.
It's one of my favorite singular images.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll go. When is it supposed to be, Sammy?
It starts next May, and
like 2022.
Yeah, and they're saying that it like will go for a long time. It's like a residency, like Britney Spears' residency. By the way, Britney Spears.
Yeah, Britney Spears. Huge news.
Britney Spears. Hello, free of the conservatorship. Hell yeah.
It's a good. I can't believe it.
It's amazing.
I mean, it would have been really messed up if she'd stayed in that after all the press.
It took fucking
the documentaries.
13 years. Ugh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking shit show, but
really happy for her.
Anyways, so this will be very similar to Britney Spears' residency in Vegas in that it'll go on for perhaps 4 years or so.
Oh, so we got
time. And so we've got time because they'll never get tired because it's not them.
They'll never get tired.
They could do it forever.
Wow.
Wow. What a time,
I'm there. Great. Sold.
Okay, great. This is really exciting. We've got a lot of plans to look forward to.
A lot.
But before that, let's talk about this week's movie, which is Aliens. Came out in 1986, directed by James Cameron, written by James Cameron, David Giler, and Walter Hill, starring Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Carrie Henn, Paul Reiser, Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, and William Hope, and it is available to rent for $3.99.
Wow. Aliens, the sequel to Alien, which I like for a sequel, just adding an S.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Also for this one, it's like, and guess what? There's more.
It's correct. It's the right name for it.
It's the right name. And we will not just be discussing this alone this week. We are joined by a guest. We are so thrilled to have the very delightful Haley Joel Osment.
Hello.
Ooh.
How's it going?
Haley.
Nice to see you guys and hear you guys everyone listening to the podcast.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Sorry, you guys don't get to see us.
Yeah.
You just get to listen.
It's a great Foursquare. It's a really good one today. We have some delightful rooms in the back. Yeah, it's great.
Fills up the Zoom in a really pleasant way.
Yeah. I could talk about Britney for 2 hours, but we can do Aliens
yeah, Haley,
instead.
I mean, feel free. 2 hours?
Contrary to what I said before we started recording.
I mean,
for those listening at home, I'm dog sitting, so I have a dog handoff later today. So that's what's on the schedule next. But
that's
yeah.
the schedule.
So you'll talk about Britney until then.
Yeah, until the dog owner comes.
Until the dog leaves. Haley, how are you? What's up with you?
I'm great. You know, we're all kind of in this weird limbo where like life is kind of back. You know, we're doing things. It seems pretty safe. I got my booster and it kicked my ass for like 4 days.
No.
Yeah, which is what happened to me with the second dose. The first dose
the second
did
one fucked me
nothing.
up.
Yeah, the second one, I was just like sick and like shivering, weird thoughts.
Awful.
Weird thought.
Yeah, just like weird circular thing. It's at night, so you're awake, you're asleep. Like this thing happened to me. There's this guitar riff in my mind from a song, and I couldn't place it, and it was driving me crazy, and it was an earworm. And then I remembered it was from a Neil Young song, and as soon as I remembered it was Neil Young, I couldn't remember what riff I'd been thinking of. So that's what you can expect from the dose. I don't want to give the anti-vaxxers any more fuel, but
I was going to say you're fueling the anti-vax right now.
Great, a lot of anti-vax listeners. It's sort of our main base.
Yeah.
Well, not to make you feel bad, but I also got the booster and I had no reaction at all. So we've got both sides here.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem to have any obvious connection to age or past history. Like the one thing I did think is that my dad had no reaction and my mom had like my reaction. My mom and I get sick a lot throughout life and my dad is rarely sick. So it's like, okay, maybe because of what you've been exposed to over your entire life, it has some effect over it. I don't know.
Your immune system in general or something like that.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, I'm going to do it this week and I have no idea what to expect.
Take a couple days off.
Roll of the dice.
I'm going to plan to be sick and hopefully I won't be, but it's been like more 50-50 I feel like than I even heard from the second one. I feel like most people I knew got some sort of reaction, but third it's like some people are totally fine, some people very sick. Well, glad you're feeling better.
Thanks. And I feel safe enough to go to the Philharmonic today. So
I mean I am feeling like I'm getting like when we all first got our second round, we're like, okay, we're vaccinated and everything's going to be fine forever. I had this like feeling if we could do anything. And then that proved to be not true. But now I'm feeling it again where I'm like, oh my gosh, we're all going to be boosted in like 2 weeks. And so we could do whatever we want again. Like, let's just, I am feeling a bit like, I guess everything's fine again. Yeah. I don't know.
Looking at those fun color-coded maps on the New York Times as if I'm an epidemiologist. Like, I think it's okay to go to Kansas. Safer than Switzerland. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I understand. Well, what can we do?
What can we do? We can watch a great movie is what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Wait, okay, so I need to know, Haley, how do you feel generally about horror movies? Like, are you a huge fan? Do you love them?
I like them. I have a weird relationship with them because I did one that was a pretty big experience in my life when I was like 10 years old, which was a great experience, but it had the effect of kind of taking the magic out of horror movies for me. It's hard to scare me with things. There's definitely movies that disturb me, but to actually get scared is a rare sort of thing now because I saw how the sausage was made. And contrary to what Ronald Reagan says, it's very interesting how the sausage is made. But it's less scary when you see them putting on the makeup and all that stuff. And also when we were shooting The Sixth Sense when I was 10 years old, it was like my education in horror movies at home because my dad and I would just rent all the great horror movies just as research and to see how people do all those things. So I was seeing Alien and Aliens and Poltergeist and just all these great horror films just to see how it had been done, through history. So.
And you were 10 years old when we were watching all of those. Yeah. So you're also probably like desensitized really quickly if you're watching Poltergeist at 10 and you're like just like doing it for research.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the homework that you go home to. So yeah. So and that's the first time I saw Aliens was in the Corman Towers in Philadelphia, going to a little video rental store on Spring Garden and picking out these VHSs and watching them on a TV that was now looking back really small and probably terrible to watch this movie on. So but this is one of my favorite movies, and for me personally, it's totally divorced from action or horror. This is like a comfort movie to me, which is strange because I've seen it so many times and I love it so much. Like, for example, the morning after the 2016 election, when everyone was feeling really bad, I was like, well, I'm gonna watch Alien and then Aliens, and then I'll figure out what to do after that. Like, this is my go-to. This will take up the next 5 hours, and then I'll deal with life. Yeah.
Wait, I love this so much. Okay, so we've had a lot of guests on, and we've never had a guest who's talked about a horror movie that's been like a comfort horror movie. I think this is the first time, and we need to ask people that in the future if they have like a horror movie that's like a comfort one.
The Shining is one of those too, where it's like I just love watching that movie, and it's just so distant from its original. It's like what happens to songs getting repurposed and having like different uses, you know, once they've been around for a long time. So that's definitely a good question for people, because I feel like people have those.
So what's your comfort horror? Were you also 10 when you saw The Shining?
No. And I don't think I ever asked my dad, like, why some were off limits and some, like, were okay.
Interesting.
I guess because, like, sci-fi and supernatural aren't real, and The Shining has a little bit more to do with... Yeah.
Yeah, The Shining is a little bit too much like, oh, my dad's going to murder me.
Yeah, I guess I can understand.
Actually, that's probably it, yeah.
Being like, I'm going to do that one.
I can also remember when I was, like, 13 or something, I was staying over at a friend's house, and we were watching Mulholland Drive, and we were not supposed to be watching Mulholland Drive. And my friend's dad like caught us watching it, and he, you know, turned off the DVD or whatever we were watching. He's like, "You can't do this. David Lynch is trying to get inside your head." And I was like, all right, that's true. I guess maybe he's not trying, but he gets in there. Yeah. So I think that's the dividing line between what's okay for kids and not okay for kids is stuff that, you know, can mess you up psychologically, and stuff that's just, you know, jump scares. Yeah. That's
true. I will say on that note, Haley, and this isn't your fault, I don't blame you, but the thing that really disturbed me so much was when you died, spoiler alert, in Pay It Forward, because I watched that at a time where I was like, he doesn't die. And I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. When you said when I died, it could now be like 20 different things. I've been killed every way you can possibly get killed. You know, shot, stabbed, zombified, cancer,
what's your favorite way?
AIDS. I was a zombie on What We Do in the Shadows, and that was just way too much fun. So, because I kept getting to come back to life.
Yeah, you're not really dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sammy's like favorite show is What We Do in the Shadows.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
So good.
It's great.
It's so
great.
good. Yeah.
It's great. That just reminds me, I was on a plane recently to New York, and they had the What We Do in the Shadows movie listed on the in-flight entertainment. And I think that the category, they listed it as a thriller. Like in the lid, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are they? No, it's not. Anyway. Wow. Okay. So this is a movie that you know and love very much.
Yeah. I don't have to have the Wikipedia page up. I didn't even have to rewatch this. Like, yeah, this is...
You got to memorize.
So I'm sure somebody has if I like miss something glaring, please let me know. But like, yeah, this is one I could talk about forever. And hopefully some of the trivia, which is also kind of from memory, but yeah, yeah, there's so much good trivia about this one, because like the same with Alien, like there's just so much going on at that time on the same lot. And so a lot of and you know what, I'm sure we'll get to what we really love about these movies. Like I think we were talking about The Thing before we started recording, is it's, you know, it's real stuff. It's real sets. It has a real texture.
It's practical.
You know, everybody talks about that a lot these days, and not a lot of people respond to it, because a movie that feels real, you know, or people's bodies are actually at risk and they're not just, you know, Marvel superheroes. That's a real movie. You know, Die Hard is
Marvel.
like that. I know. I'm you know, it's an easy punching bag, but it's not Marvel. It's that all other action movies are trying to resemble Marvel, and they should try and, you know, resemble other things too. Positive example, I think Mad Max Fury Road was a perfect combination, because computers aren't necessarily the enemy. You can meld great computer work and real stunts in a really effective way. So it's possible. I know it's possible.
It's possible. It's what my favorite like movies of all time are Mission Impossible, which is weird, but it's because they're like, he's fucking doing it. And it's so cool.
Absolutely. And then they had, you know, Bourne felt really real. And then that had the effect of, you know, James Bond turning from, you know, space lasers and Pierce Brosnan stopping his heart into Daniel Craig actually, you know, running on stuff with a guy. So it's fun to trace those trends, you know, of who's paying attention to what in Hollywood.
And this movie, I mean, the design of the aliens in this, like, my boyfriend Joel has been to the H.R. Geiger like museum.
Oh wow!
And I've seen some pictures, and it just looks so cool. Like that, the like bones and the skin. Like, I just love it. And get that same effect if it's not actually like 3-dimensional and real.
Yeah, I mean, they ran into that with Alien 3 where they started computer generating it and it just didn't have the same effect. Not to get way out in the weeds, but just because Dune is in theaters, I also wanted to tip the cap to Jodorowsky's Dune, which is a great documentary. Because when Alejandro Jodorowsky tried to make Dune in the early 70s, he worked with H.R. Giger, who designed all of these crazy, designs for the Baron Harkonnen palace and everything, which are what they used for Alien when that movie didn't happen.
Whoa.
So
Holy shit.
if you don't know, you'll be blown away. Look at the designs for that Dune in the early 70s, because all those artists went off and did Alien and Aliens with those designs. And we would not have these movies had that movie happened. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, check that movie out. There's a lot of stuff where all these, artists who had come together for that. Incredible. But yeah, I could talk for 2 hours about that stuff too. But that's the heritage of all this.
You have a dog handoff, Haley. A dog handoff.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where all of this comes from. And all those incredible, the alien is one of the most iconic monsters around. And it came from
scary.
designs
Scariest
from Dune.
alien ever.
Yeah. It's just so upsetting in so many ways. Yeah.
That's also so cool to think, because like that's such incredible artistry that went into making those things. I'm so glad it got used.
Yeah, I think that's what they were all thinking. It's like, it'd be a shame to let this go to waste.
Yeah, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Dang.
Fabulous.
Do we have any more trivia about this movie, or should we?
I got some stats. It's has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, 84
nice.
on Metacritic,
That must be fresh.
8.3 on IMDb.
Very high for IMDb.
So
Very
high.
high. IMDb is a real. You never know what you're going to get. Well, usually it's like, what is it? Like 6.2. I feel like all of them are 6.2. The budget was 18.5 million and it made 183 million. It was nominated for 7 Oscars: actress, art direction, sound editing, score, visual effects, and sound editing. And it won.
Holy shit.
Won
I didn't know
sound
that.
editing and visual effects.
Cool. Glad it won visual effects.
Then just some random trivia things. The alien screams are baboon shrieks altered in post, which is kind of fun.
Baboons are used so often in horror movies.
Oh, they're scary.
They're scary.
Terrifying.
They're a scary animal.
And then a lot of the trivia I read was just about like the animosity on set. I guess a lot of the crew was very upset that James Cameron was coming on and was like, they were very loyal to Ridley Scott. And so
Interesting.
he had a lot of problems with a lot of the people on set that were just like, wouldn't, what was the one that I wrote down here? It was the assistant director, Derek Cracknell, who would openly question James Cameron's decisions, openly antagonistic towards him, calling him Governor and Grizzly Adams because of his beard.
Brutal takedown, Grizzly Adams.
Yikes.
Zing.
Can you imagine being passive aggressive to James Cameron now on set?
It's so funny. Yeah. In hindsight, it's like so funny to just imagine all these fucking people just being like, this fucking guy, who's this now? And it's James Cameron.
Well, he had nothing out in theaters, I guess, was the problem, because Terminator wasn't out yet. Also, I believe I have the timeline right. He was writing and shooting Terminator at the same time that he was writing this one, without even the promise that Sigourney Weaver would return to do a sequel. So he did this whole story, and they were like, well, maybe you should make one without her. And he refused to do it. He's like, this has to be about Ripley. It totally depends on.
Thank God.
Yeah. Seriously, it wouldn't work without
Can you imagine?
Also, that's so insane in the trajectory of his life to go from being like a dude who's getting roasted by his AD on set to being like, and also this year I released Aliens and Terminator.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, take that, Derek.
Yeah, I guess back in the day, crews were not hired by production. They were just the crew at the studio. So you would come in and just have to deal with the people who were already there. Also, and I know this is a hot button topic recently, Americans were working 12 hours, and that was much longer than British crews were unionized to be working. So they would just walk out in the middle of takes, and you take tea breaks and things like that, which is not the way that James Cameron was used to working.
Tea breaks.
You gotta have a tea break.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is tea time.
Yeah. Apparently, the last speech Cameron gave to the crew when they finished was he was like, this has been a struggle. And the only thing that kept me going is that I'm going to walk out of these gates and you fuckers have to stay here forever.
And now that's how you do it. That's a good roast.
Oh, wait. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast? I'm sorry.
Are we allowed?
Okay.
Yes, we're allowed to swear.
Good.
You sure are.
Sorry.
You sure are. We allow it. We allow it.
Yeah.
We got that explicit rating.
Nice.
So.
Oh, God. You earned the E.
We earned the E. Oh, dang. I mean, should we watch this trailer? Are we ready?
Let's do it.
That sound design, man, is so good.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it.
It's so cool that trailer, nobody says anything.
It's so refreshing. And back then was a lot of trailers who was like, Sigourney Weaver's on a spaceship. 20 minutes later.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. It makes me want to watch it again. God.
I have actually, this is one of the rare scary movies that I have seen, but it's been a really long time. And I like seeing images in the trailer. I was like, oh, right. God, this movie is so cool. And also in watching it and thinking about the context of Terminator, I'm like, oh, that like visually it really, because I just rewatched Terminator recently. I was like, oh, maybe it's just honestly like the color scheme in Big Guns where I was like, that's the same.
Oh, totally. And like, I think it's just his evolution of like Terminator was basically a low budget indie, with not a lot of money for what they were doing. And now he had a little bit more money. It's just like a little bit more. And now he has enough to make 5 avatars. So just stay
Which
at
we
it.
all want.
Everyone wants that.
We all want them.
Yeah. Oh man. Just seeing how sweaty everyone is and how smoky everything is. Another piece of trivia is that throughout this movie, there's a lot of dry ice, and they're using, I think, 3 different types of dry ice, one of which has since been banned because it was extremely dangerous and unhealthy, but it looks great. That oily smoke that when they're in the power station. I did a movie like 10 years ago with Veronica Cartwright, who played Lambert in the first Alien. And she was saying how the sets are all enclosed, so it's really hot, and they just smeared glycerin on your face to make you look sweaty all day. So people are fainting, and it's just like, it really comes through. It really comes through.
Sometimes you gotta suffer to make it work.
Oh my God.
I didn't realize there were multiple kinds of dry ice. So
I didn't either.
I just learned that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even the one they use now like irritates my eyes. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like not a good thing to be probably breathing in and dealing with, but it does look so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Should we just freaking get into this movie?
Get into it. Let's get into it.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
So we're assuming that everyone knows I'll do a brief recap of the first Alien. There's a giant mining ship with 7 crew members, the size of a city. They get a rescue, a SOS signal from a planet, an uninhabited planet where a derelict spaceship has crashed. They go and investigate the spaceship. They find a bunch of eggs. One of the eggs opens up, and something that looks like a horseshoe crab explodes out of the egg and attaches itself to John Hurt's face. He is in a coma for several days. They take him back on the ship. They go back into space. After a couple days, he wakes up and seems fine. Then they're eating dinner one night and he starts choking and an alien that kind of looks like a penis with teeth explodes out of his stomach.
They're like,
yeah, it goes, great sound design. Maybe that was an extremely high-pitched baboon that they used for that time.
Yeah, maybe one.
Pitch it up. Keep pitching it up.
Pitch it up, a little pitch up. He runs away, the alien. We assume it's a he. He grows to the size of an 8-foot tall man within a matter of hours and then proceeds to rip apart everyone on the ship except for Sigourney Weaver, who eventually escapes. Oh, before she escapes, it's revealed that Ian Holm, who they thought was a man like the rest of them, is an android sent by the mining company, Wayland Yutani, intentionally to sacrifice their crew to pick up this alien because they knew it was there. And they want to take the alien back for scientific research. Ripley discovers this. They kill Ash. Everyone else dies except for Sigourney Weaver and her cat, Jinxie. They get on the lifeboat, the escape pod. They blast off from the ship. They self-destruct the ship, thinking the alien's still on the ship. And it is not. It is in the escape pod with Ripley. She jettisons the alien and kills it, blows it into space. And then she and Jinxie get into a hibernation chamber, set a course for Earth, and go to sleep. That's the end of the first Alien. Now, Aliens, our movie. Her icy escape pod is floating through the deep regions of space. The door is cut open. A robot arm comes through the door. It sees all the great dry ice in there. It looks around.
It's all perfectly safe.
It's perfectly safe. It withdraws. A bunch of people come in. They scrape the ice away from Ripley's faceplate and see that she's sleeping peacefully with her cat, Jinxie. Ripley wakes up in a medical bay where Paul Reiser, wearing a suit with a cool futuristic collar, comes in and introduces himself as a representative of the Wayland Yutani Company. And he has some very upsetting news for her, because instead of going to Earth, her ship just drifted off into space until it was luckily picked up by scavengers. And he has to inform Ripley that it has been 57 years since she went into hibernation.
Rough.
God, that would suck so much.
Yeah, yes, it's sad. And now I don't normally like a lot of deleted scene stuff, but there is an important thing that they cut out of the movie, which Sigourney Weaver was justifiably angry about, because Paul Reiser tells her daughter, who was a child when she left Earth, is now grew old and died while she was in space.
Oh,
that is so sad.
Huge detail to cut out of the movie.
Yeah, very important, as you'll see later, why that would be weighing heavily on Ripley's mind with a certain relationship that happens later in the movie. So yeah, this daughter she remembers as a child, grew old and died. So
Poof.
Yeah.
There's also a line here that really made me laugh where he says, us finding you was a 1 in 1,000 chance. And I was like, 1 in 1,000? No fucking way.
And we did the math. No, we did the math, and it's 1 in 1,000.
Yeah. That was like 4 to 2 that we'd find you.
In floating in space?
You're pretty lucky. It was about 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, that was like the Bucks odds for the NBA championship that we would find you.
And it's about the same. It's about the same.
I really laughed.
So while he's telling her this, Ripley is very upset, and then she starts getting sick, and everything slows down. It starts to get very scary. She starts freaking out, like seizing. All the medical staff rush in with syringes trying to sedate her. Ripley knows what's happening. She has been implanted with an alien embryo. And knowing what's about to happen, she says a line that's very disturbing whenever you hear it in any movie. She's going, kill me, before it explodes out of her. She pulls up her hospital gown, and they see her belly start to expand out. The alien is slowly coming through her chest. And then, she wakes up. It was a nightmare. Luckily, just a nightmare. We didn't start the movie killing her in the first 5 minutes. So she's okay. And back in the actual world, she's summoned to a boardroom meeting with the mining company because she blew up a very expensive amount of ore, and they have no record of the alien because the ship blew up and there's no video recordings or anything. They just have her word that she blew up a whole ship and saved herself. This reminds me of a Neil Gorsuch decision in Colorado where a truck driver abandoned his truck on the side of the road in a blizzard so he wouldn't freeze to death. And Neil Gorsuch said, no, it's your job to stay with the cargo because cargo is always more important than human life.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah. That's now he's on the Supreme Court. So that's what's happening here. They're very angry at her because their lives are...
It's good to be a human.
Good to be alive.
We're good at it. We're good at it.
They knew in 1985 that corporations could be evil. So they dismiss her. They think she's crazy. As they walk out of the boardroom, she has a light bulb. She says, if you doubt me, just go to LV 426, the planetoid where they landed on. And they go, we already have been. We sent colonists there years ago. There's 60 families, men, women, and children living on that planet right now as we speak. And Ripley is very disturbed by this. She goes back to her cool little space apartment, where I believe she's working as like a mechanic because that's what she was on the original ship. A little, not very important trivia, but I thought it was kind of cool. Her little tiny lavatory is an actual British Airways lavatory that they bought from the airline. I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh,
for those of you who are into set stuff. She gets a knock at the door. Paul Reiser is back with a military attaché. Or no, it's the colonel. It's Gorman. It's Gorman. And what do you know? They have lost contact with the colonists on LV 426.
Shocker.
And they're very worried. And now they're starting to think that maybe Ripley was telling the truth, that something terrible was out there. So they ask her to go as a special advisor with a group of colonial Marines to land on the planet and to see if there are any colonists that can be rescued. Also important for the company is that they have a giant nuclear reactor that's generating an atmosphere to make it a habitable planet so that they can mine and get more stuff there. That's why the company actually cares. So they go and meet all of the Marines, including Bill Paxton in one of the most iconic roles ever. They are about to get on the ship. Hang on, I'm trying to remember the guy who plays Apone. The guy who plays Apone was an actual sergeant in the military, and he was the first black man to get field promoted to sergeant during the Vietnam War. So
his name's
holy shit,
Al Matthews.
Al Matthews. He passed away in 2018, the same year that Arlie Ermey passed away. And this is only notable because Full Metal Jacket, which has Arlie Ermey in it, was being filmed at Pinewood at the same time as this movie. So those two guys who were both actual veterans were there at the same time. So interesting trivia. Cool. So they're not taking Ripley seriously. She's not in the military. And she says, well, I can drive that thing. And there's a giant exoskeleton, which will be recognizable from Avatar and a lot of other things that James Cameron did. Basically a person with giant robot arms who's able to carry much more weight than a human would. And she goes over, she picks up a big box, handles it expertly, comes back over to them and says, where do you want it? And they go, okay, we'll take you seriously.
Jesus.
They get on the Suleiko. They go back into hypersleep and they travel to LV 426. They wake up. The Marines instantly are doing pull-ups, behind the head pull-ups. They're super tough. They're a super bonded group of people. Vasquez and Frost are really... seem like they've been friends since they were children. It's a really tight-knit group of people, but it's also just another day at work for them. Bill Paxton says, I hope this isn't just another bug hunt, because apparently they've been out killing different sorts of aliens before. They go to the mess hall where Ripley notices, where Lance Hendrickson, who is the science officer on the mission, they ask him, all the Marines are asking him to do his knife trick. And he's like, no. They're like, come on, do your knife trick. He grabs Bill Paxton's hand, puts it down on the table, puts his own hand on top of Bill Paxton's hand, and then does the thing where you rapidly touch the knife tip in between each finger. Except Bishop does it like faster than is humanly possible. It's going, and Bill Paxton's screaming, and then he does it and he takes the knife away and everybody cheers. And then Ripley looks over because Bishop actually cut his finger while he was doing it, but white milky stuff is coming out of his hand.
Uh-oh.
In the first movie, when Ian Holm revealed himself to be an alien, he started spewing what looked like milk out of all of his orifices and like was revealed to not be filled with blood. And Ripley's understandably traumatized by robots because that one tried to kill her in the first movie. And she gets very upset and says, "You didn't tell us there was a synthetic person on this ship." And they're like, "Oh, we didn't think we had to. Like, it's normal. There's always a synthetic." And then Paul Reiser goes, "Oh, I forgot. Ian Holm tried to murder her 60 years ago." And Lance
It's like, right.
I don't know why this slipped my mind. And Lance Henriksen, who's very, very kind and peaceful, he goes, "Well, that would never happen now. Those ones were always a lot twitchy." And she pushes him, just goes, "Just stay away from me, Bishop." So they hate each other early on. Have I missed anything yet? Am I talking too fast?
No, this is great.
No, this is perfect.
Please
Honestly,
jump in.
this is very compelling.
This is like when society collapses. We'll just have to be telling these movies around the campfire because we won't have Netflix anymore.
We're creating a document.
And I will be like #1 Wrapped listener. I will just be sitting for all of the stories. So entranced.
I think it'll be great.
So they get into the drop ship. They're in orbit above the alien planet. And they get into this thing, it looks like just like an airplane, basically, but a little bit beefier and sturdier. They get on, they drop out like they're in free fall, like it's a ride at an amusement park. And they're all, Bill Paxton's yelling with exhilaration. As they're going down, Gorman, who is the, I guess, lieutenant in charge of the mission, is looking kind of nervous and sweaty. And Ripley, who's very tough and up for anything, goes, "How many of these drops have you done, Lieutenant?" And he goes, 30 or something. And she goes, "How many real drops?" He goes, "Well, 28 simulated, 2 real." And she's like, "Oh, so we don't have a very experienced leader here." All the Marines resent him because they've done a ton of them. And then there's a very effective cutaway to Michael Biehn, who plays Hicks, who is a lower ranked soldier, but he is so chilled out. He's napping as they're dropping through the atmosphere. So
Cool as hell, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking cool.
Yeah. And that's one of those little things that James Cameron does. You're like, nice little moments. You're like, I know what you're telling me here. Please. I like this. Yeah. So they drop through the atmosphere. They swoop down and become a plane that flies. Anybody who's, James Cameron would hate me not using the actual technical terms, but it's what I got. They are now flying over the surface of the planet, and they come into view of the gigantic colonist complex. There's a huge nuclear reactor. It's smoky. It's very spooky. The cameras are 80s cameras, so all the lights are doing these like creepy swirly things, and like it's kind of hard to see what's going on. They come down through all the murk. They land on the ground, and the Marines get out. They do their thing. Vasquez has this machine gun that's loaded onto an actual Steadicam arm, so she can hold this thing.
It's so cool.
It's so
God,
tight.
it's cool.
Yeah. Apparently, this was a common theme for James Cameron movies. It was so heavy that the straps kept buckling, so he had them duct taped into the rig, which meant they couldn't take bathroom breaks a lot through the day.
Oh, God.
Which was also a frequent complaint on The Abyss. So.
We did The Abyss, man, there were so much trivia.
Those actors did not have a good time.
Oh, man.
No, the actors were not a fan.
But when,
not a fan.
When Ed Harris said he was just driving home from work one day and he just started like hysterically crying and like punching the steering wheel, you're like, geez.
Yeah, he like wouldn't talk about it. Didn't Ed Harris like refuse to talk about it for like decades?
Yeah. Wild. So that's what we're getting into on this planet.
That's what we're dealing with.
So the whole movie, just know no one can go to the bathroom.
No, they're uncomfortable. They're covered in Vaseline and they have to pee.
So they get there, they land at there's like a little space city, but it's abandoned. It's very creepy. There's a bar sign, a neon bar sign that's swinging in the wind, but nobody's around. The Marines are doing their checks, they're in formation, they're searching. They don't see anything. They go into the main colonist complex. They're going down a creepy little passageway with great floors. a lot of this movie requires looking through multiple levels of certain buildings through these grates. And while they were building these sets, they're like, where can we get like a ton of these grates? And at Pinewood Studios, they're like, oh, there's a huge pile of them like out, piled behind the studio. And it was the grates from the first Alien 7 years ago that they just like thrown like in the trash and were just still there at the studio. And they're like, oh, great, we'll use them again. And
reuse.
The derelict spacecraft, which looks like half of a donut, they, in a deleted scene, you see it again. So they needed it. And they're like, does anybody know where it is? And so guys like, yeah, it's in my driveway. Like I have it. So they went and they got it and brought it back. Yeah. So they're exploring. They find a laboratory. And in this laboratory, there are tubes filled with water. And suspended in the tubes are several of the facehuggers from the first movie. So clearly the colonists have found the aliens and were trying to study them. They're looking through the records and they're searching for any information about where any of the colonists are because there's no bodies anywhere. It's just creepy. There's no one around. And Bill Paxton says another great line. He goes, quit your grinning and drop your linen, which is an AC/DC lyric. So I guess they're listening to AC/DC in the year 2122.
Yes. There has been no new music.
No, the classics are always the classics. So he has discovered that the colonists who all had GPS tracking devices are all clustered in the nuclear reactor. So they're probably fine. They're all just
they're definitely fine. They're safe.
They're safe. So they're going to go there. On their way there, they are scared because they hear noise, something scurrying around. There's a big build up to a jump scare. And then they see a little girl with tangled ratty hair with a teddy bear or a rabbit, I guess, scurrying around. She's running through the air ducts. Ripley, haunted by visions of her daughter, although you wouldn't know that in the original release.
It's so crazy that they removed that. We just have to put a point on that. Why?
And it's like, why? Like, it wouldn't even take that much time. I've never read any explanation for it. Yeah. Maybe it would make her less of a badass somehow, but I don't know. I don't think so.
It's too sad. They were like, that's just too sad.
Yeah, let's not make it too real in this movie. So Ripley, in a panic, or very affected by the sight of this girl, chases her through the air ducts all the way to basically a nest this girl has built in the walls of the facility. And this girl is nonverbal. She's clearly very traumatized. They get her and they take her back to the lab while the Marines split off and go to investigate where the colonists are. They go to and Ripley is cleaning up Newt in the lab, and she's not saying anything. She's very tenderly cleaning the soot off of her face. And what does Ripley call her that makes her respond for the first time?
Rebecca. She finds a school photo of her, and her name is Rebecca. And yeah, she says Rebecca. She's wiping her face, and then the girl very softly whispers, "Newt." My name is Newt.
My name is Newt.
Nobody calls me Rebecca except my brother. So we get a little humanity right there. So then they're keeping track with the Marines. The Marines go meanwhile, they're looking at images of the site, and Bill Paxton says, if you like that, you're going to love this. And we cut to what the Marines have discovered, which is a giant tunnel that has clearly been slimed over by something alien. It's a huge power station with these giant car doors, but there's a hive tunnel descending down into the reactor.
No,
and they just walk right in there. Let's
check it out.
Let's get in there. Come on, let's go.
Get in there. Come on, all of us together. Nobody wait behind.
I watched this with my mom last night, and she kept going why are they doing this again? She's like, why don't they just leave?
Great question.
That's a good question.
So many times in movies, you're like, I'll just leave. I don't need to know. I don't need to know what's behind there. Let's just go. Let's get out of here. But they're Marines, so they go in. They gotta go. One thing that was introduced on the dropship I forgot to mention was a nice little James Cameron drawing your attention to something. They all have GoPros basically on their helmets. And one guy's is staticky. Gorman is watching a bank of basically a Zoom feed with everybody's feed in a grid. And he goes, Hudson, like, hit your thing. He goes, there we go. And so we know that we can watch their personal POVs, each of the Marines, as they descend down into the scary hive. It's also notable that one person is carrying a very crazy looking flamethrower. There's two people with the side mounted machine guns. Everybody else has got assault rifles. Now, once they get down there, they start seeing human artifacts, shoes, stuff of that sort, embedded in the slime in the walls. As they go farther and farther down, descending the rickety stairs into the dark and smoky power reactor. And then Ripley, ever aware of her surroundings, goes, Lieutenant, aren't they directly under the reactor? And he goes, yeah. She goes, well, are they using armor-piercing ammunition? He goes, yeah. She's like, well, if they use armor-piercing ammunition and they hit the reactor, and Paul Reiser goes, whoa, she's right. And if they fire their guns in there, they'll hit the reactor and cause a nuclear explosion that will kill them all and blow up like a big section of the planet.
I mean, again, feels like a thing that absolutely should have been considered.
Yeah, they should have known that going in.
And a great time to just turn around and be like,
exactly.
Okay.
And do they do that?
Oh, shoot. Oh, dang. Yeah.
We should go get different weapons like samurai swords, and then we'll come back. Yeah, lightsabers, those are probably in the same cinematic universe.
I think so, yeah. Star Wars is happening just next door.
Yeah, Star Wars is next door. We should let's go get what they have. Can we use the Force down here? Does that affect nuclear weapons? So instead of that, what they do is they say, everybody take all the bullets out of your guns. And he has the sergeant collect all of their clips so they can't use guns. They can only use flamethrowers. They cannot use any projectile weapons. So they continue down with no bullets. Eventually, they start seeing more and more signs of people. And then somebody's, I believe it's Dietrich, her flashlight finds a woman's face in the wall, like encased in slime. She goes, Jesus. I've got something over here. They all come over. They get really close. They pull her up by her slimy hair, and her eyes go blink and open up because she's still alive, even though she's basically pale and gray and looks dead. She starts moving around in obvious pain. They don't know what to do, but she starts saying the familiar line, kill me, kill me.
Oh, shit.
So at that moment, activity starts happening in her midsection, and then in short order, a thing goes and comes out of her chest, a blood-covered alien. And in a notable difference from the first film, I think something they wanted to do, but it didn't happen for some reason, this alien has clawing, spidery arms. So it's heaving itself out of her body after she has been killed. They respond appropriately in this situation. They light everything on fire with the flamethrower. They scorch the whole wall. They kill the alien and reduce everything to ash. Everything is fine for the moment. But then they hear this sound that's kind of like...
Would you describe it as a baboon pitched down?
It's more like a baboon, like a snoring baboon pitched up, you know? They hear that, and then they start hearing all kinds of activity. Now, in the first movie, there's the famous scene of Tom Skerritt in the ducts with the motion detector, the little dots that go boop, 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 boop. You can see where everything else is in relation to you. Now they start seeing many of those dots all coming from all directions on them, but they don't see anything yet. They're spinning around. We're looking through all their POVs. They don't know what's happening.
Jesus.
Then finally someone backs up into a wall, and an alien, because they look like the slime itself, everything looks like the same texture, the metal, the slime, and then the actual monsters all blend together, comes out of the wall and lifts this Marine up and, into who knows where. Everybody freaks out. They're shooting fire in all directions. They're shooting fire downwards, several stories. They don't know what they're shooting at. You can't really see very much, except people are getting picked off. We see on their POV screens, slowly one by one, they're going to static. Finally, Vasquez goes, fuck this. She didn't give them her bullets. She starts shooting in wild range on the APC where they're watching. Gorman, who's pouring sweat, is going, who's shooting? Who's shooting? You can't shoot. You're going to cause a nuclear explosion. Everything is going to shit. They're freaking out. Gorman in the command center basically has a panic attack and stops responding. And Ripley, who doesn't cave under pressure, is going, Gorman, you got to do something. We got to get them out of there. And he's just shaking and not responding. She pushes him out of the chair. She gets into the cockpit of this armored personnel carrier, which is basically, and I think actually was the thing that tows your airplane out onto the tarmac.
Oh,
this
yeah.
very low profile thing. She gets in and starts driving from the base to rescue the Marines as they're getting attacked by aliens. Virtually, they're all getting slaughtered. They start running away. They're retreating finally. What is it here where Michael Biehn says the famous line where he goes, something, we are leaving, which is a line they reference in Prometheus and the new Aliens. At some point, somebody yells that.
As they're getting into the car.
Yeah. So they get up there. I think it's Frost and Vasquez and Hicks and Hudson. Ripley is driving over aliens and crashing through walls and knocking into stuff. This is some of the best miniature work of the era.
Oh, cool.
It's just really great stuff. A lot of the ships in this are just terrific miniatures. So good that I think when Fox watched it for the first time, they were angry at Gail Ann Hurd, the producer, because they're like, you used all the budget on sets. Like, we had a budget for special effects. And she goes, guess what? That's all special effects.
That's fucking cool.
Those are actual sets.
That's amazing.
Ripley eventually gets the Marines. They're loading into the APC. At the last second, somebody makes the mistake of shooting an alien in the head with a shotgun, which, if we remember for the first movie, these aliens also have blood, acid for blood.
Right.
So she blows its head off. Vasquez's buddy is covered in acid. His face melts and he's killed. And she goes, no, as they pull her into the APC.
No.
Then they have to escape. They're driving out. They get outside of the reactor onto the dusty plain. And Michael Biehn, who, along with Sigourney Weaver, is kind of the only chill person in control of their emotions, goes, Ripley, you stripped the clutch. You're not doing anything. You're just grinding gears. We're safe. Like, they grind to a halt. They get out, and they're like, this is fucked. They call the dropship, which has been helpfully waiting at another location to come and get them. That pilot, who's a badass, she has the aviators, the mirrored aviators. She gets the call. She's like, right away. She calls for her partner. She's like, come back onto the ship. He's like, all right. As he runs up onto the gangplank, his hand touches something slimy. And he goes, what's this? She's like, come on, hurry. He's like, oh, well, I'm not going to think about this for any more seconds. Must be nothing.
God damn it.
She's flying. She's going to them. They see the ship in the distance coming to them. The rescue that's going to take them back to the main ship. In the cockpit, the pilot's like, where are you? Where are you? The door opens because I guess they could open doors. And there's an alien in the ship with her. She tries to draw her pistol. She's very brave in her final moments. The two jaws come out and they kill her. The windshield's covered in blood. They see the ship as it's coming towards them start to turn a little bit in a disturbing way. And they're like, something's wrong. Oh, shit. They run for cover.
No.
Their only rescue ship slams into the ground and explodes and covers them with shrapnel. There's a huge explosion. And now it's just them stranded on this planet. And I believe that's when they say they only check in on these missions in something like 6 weeks or something like that.
What?
Yeah, they're not going to have
irresponsible.
Yeah.
Check in more often.
Not frequent enough.
And the last line of this sequence is Bill Paxton goes, well, that's just great, man. That's just fucking great, man. Is that
Bill
what he
Paxton.
said? I should know this when he says game over,
Yeah,
man.
it's like in this scene.
Yeah.
Game over, man. Game
man.
over.
So sorry to just kind of ramble for a second, but that's all one amazing action sequence.
Yeah,
like that's all a
Amazing.
continuous thing. So
But how is Ripley going to get out of this one, though, you
How
guys?
are they going to get out of this?
How they gonna get
That's
out of this
what I
one?
need to know.
you gotta wonder, yeah, because their ship there's no one on the ship in orbit. They're all down there. Though that also seems like another oversight. Like maybe bring a second ship.
Very much so.
You know. So they retreat into the. Oh no! There's another iconic line before they go back inside. Newt, who's been handling this pretty chill.
Oh, yeah.
Newt's seen some shit.
She taps Ripley on the shoulder. She goes, "We better go inside because they mostly come at night. Mostly."
Oh my God. Poor Newt.
Oh God.
So they barricade themselves inside the colonists' habitat. They're trying to figure out what to do. Weld the doors shut to, have a little last stand and everything. Ripley and Newt are exhausted. They go into the science lab for some goddamn reason.
Where all the facehuggers are?
Yeah, where all the facehuggers are.
Here's a nice, safe place to lay you down for bed.
Yeah. Well, I guess Newt does it. She can't find Newt, and Newt has curled up under some cabinet or something in that room, and Ripley goes in and spoons her, and they're like going to take a little nap together.
Oh.
Then they wake up, and something is wrong.
God.
They see shattered glass on the floor. And Ripley is looking, and the container holding the facehugger has been smashed.
God damn it.
And she goes, "Newt, wake up. We have to be very quiet now." They wake up. They go around. They are, I forget the scene. This is another great action sequence that I hate if I butcher it. But the thing is loose in the room with them. So they're kind of trying to be quiet, and they're inching along the wall. They see this thing skittering along the floor.
Feels like very Jurassic Park with the raptors.
Yeah, very much like that. Yeah, and this movie is so great of having big macro scenes with nuclear explosions and stuff like that, but also just a monster scene with a disembodied hand basically chasing two people around a room. It's fantastic. The creature work in this is great.
Yep.
They do a lot of cool stuff where it looks like it's going to leap at them, but the way they did it in real life was that they yanked it backwards with a fishing line and then reversed the film. Like just a lot of
That's cool.
great
Movie
in-camera
magic.
tricks. Yeah, the best kind of movie magic. So they are trying to get the attention of everybody else in the next room, but unfortunately it's soundproof glass. So Newt and Ripley are banging on the glass, and they cut to the other side, and it's dead silent. And the rest of the team is, on the computer in the other room trying to figure out how they're going to escape. Then you see on their computer screen, there's a feed of them in that room calling for help. Paul Reiser is looking at it, and he looks over and he turns off the screen.
Paul Reiser.
He has tried to expose them to it.
That little motherfucker.
Yeah. So, I do think that they had already seen. So the reactor has a bunch of sparks flying out of the top of it, and they're like, not only are we trapped here,
Right.
A reaction has been triggered by the gunfire.
It's gonna explode.
It's going to melt down.
An explosion is imminent or whatever.
Yeah, and they're like, it's going to happen in like 30 hours or something like that.
Goodness.
So they send Bishop to a different little spot to remotely navigate a ship of some kind or something like that. But the part that stresses me out the most in this movie is when they cut a hole in this little tiny metal tube, and this is where Bishop has to like crawl through to get to the part on the planet where he needs to like send the signal or something. And it is the smallest little tube. It reminds me of the part in The Descent. It's like so claustrophobic. It's literally like, I don't even know how he moves in it. It's like the width of his shoulders. It's very stressful. I got very stressed in that scene.
It's
he's
pretty
like,
tight.
Looking, he's on a mission to get another way off the planet for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
While this is all going on.
Seems necessary.
Yeah, luckily, there's another ship that he can get, and while he's off getting it, they're in the lab calling for help. The thing is skittering around the floor. They're very frightened. Then Ripley takes a lighter out of her pocket because she's a smoker because it's the 80s. And she goes up to the fire sensor and does a little flicks her lighter,
Smart.
turns on the sprinkler systems, triggers the fire alarm. So now the room is cut. There's water showering down. The guys in the other room go, "Oh, it's coming from the med lab." They get over to the med lab. They see what's going on. The door is locked. They can't get in. They're banging on the glass. Finally, somebody throws a chair and smashes the glass. Oh, no, Hicks dives through the glass.
Dives through it, which I feel like is a huge decision for... he makes
I'm just going to dive through it.
He makes them shoot it first, so I guess maybe
Oh, that's right.
breaks it.
But what if he did like when people actually go through glass and just cut themselves? He's like, oh, and just is down for the count. Like he's trying to be brave.
That sucks. Thanks, guy.
God, you're the bravest, most capable guy here. Now you killed yourself. So they get in. The monsters are still attacking them. One of them, like with a whipping sound of its tail, leaps up onto Ripley's face and is like held only by a hand away from her. Its stupid little proboscis is sticking out of its mouth, like waggling, trying to get down her throat. They, Hicks is over there. They all have hands on it, trying to get it off. They go 1, 2, 3. They pull it off and they shoot it with machine guns and they kill it. And they're safe for the moment. Now they all have Paul Reiser in a chair, and Ripley is explaining her theory, which sounds very on point, that once again, the company's actual mission was not to rescue the colonists. It was to acquire these invincible creatures for weapons research and all that stuff, because it's a giant company.
Honestly, it seems like you can't fault them for... It's exactly what they did before. It's sort of like,
this is what we always do.
We're just doing the same thing. Like,
Wayland Yutani, this is what we do. Like, don't be surprised.
Kind of our thing. Kind of our
this
whole
alien
thing.
is fucking crazy, and we need to get it. So while they're trying to decide, and Bill Paxton's super mad, and he's like, let's just shoot this fucker right now. And they're like, no, we have to take him back to Earth and make him answer for what this company's done. Then all the lights go out. Right when they're doing that, there's just red, backup lights in there. And they're like, oh, do they also know how to cut the power? Because I think that's what has happened.
I think they did.
I think they do. They get all their weapons. They realize it could be a kind of a last stand situation. They all kind of huddle up. Everything's welded. They got the doors shut. Then they start hearing the beeps. They see dozens of dots coming towards them from all directions. It starts getting closer and closer and closer. This is played for fantastic suspense. It seems to go on forever. And then they're like, wait a minute, these dots are inside the room, but there's nothing inside the room. They're like, beep, 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 beep. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with it, man. Like, it says they're right here. They're right here. They're 5 meters away. They're 3 meters away. They're 2 meters away. They're like, what's going on? What's going on? And then Michael Biehn, his eyes slowly look up, and it's the whatever they call those drop ceilings in like conference rooms. He takes the tip of his gun, he pokes up a little square, and he looks up, and they're all in the ceiling, and they all drop out of the ceiling at once. Everybody's like, "Fuck!" They start shooting. There's gunfire. Everybody's freaking out. They, as opposed to the first movie, they do score a lot of points against the aliens. Like they kill a ton of aliens in this movie, which is very satisfying. After they totally failed in the first movie to even land one blow on that alien.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're fighting them, but they're running out of bullets. Paul Reiser, because his character is a coward. Paul Reiser in real life is not a coward. Recently nominated for a Best Supporting Actor Emmy for The Kominsky Method, available on Netflix.
Hey!
Figured I'd get that in there.
Not a
coward. He runs away into another room away from the battle. And he locks the door, and he's like, I'll be safe in here. And then, of course, he turns around and hears, and there's an alien, and it kills him, and he's dead.
And how was the pitch of that baboon?
That's a D sharp, I think.
There it is.
It may have been harmonized if all four of us could do it at the same time.
Yeah.
That was it.
It's a beautiful symphony of baboons.
Yeah, it's a symphony of baboons.
Symphony of baboons. I think that's the show I'm going to see.
I think you're going to get a really good performance.
Yeah. You ever seen 100 baboons sitting in orchestra chairs? It's beautiful.
In little tuxedos.
Oh my God.
The same ones that throw the computer around in those.
Yes.
GIFs.
The stock footage. Is that what you're talking about? Oh my God, those really make me laugh.
Did anyone ever figure out like what that was from? Like why someone did that?
I don't know, but I used to be an assistant editor at a trailer house, and someone needed stock footage of things to do with money. And I don't know if you've seen the clip of the baboon like tossing money in the air in a suit.
No.
And I found it and thought it was so funny, and so I just included it in my poll as like a little surprise, and it really made the editor laugh, and it was just a great memory.
That's great. That's a great memory. That's a really nice memory.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So meanwhile, back at the death standoff, they retreat all the way and try and get into the air ducts. And now, and this is Bill Paxton's last stand, and he's killing him. He's going, you want some? You want some? An alien erupts out of the floorboards, grabs him, and pulls him down. He goes, ah! And it's a great death scene, and he earns every minute of his screen time.
He fought valiantly.
He fought valiantly. R.I.P. Hudson. So now it's just Gorman, Vasquez, Ripley, and Hicks. And Newt. And Newt is the one who's like, come on, there's another way out. Mm-hmm. So they're all crawling through the air ducts. This is once again a claustrophobic little thing. Yep. They're being chased by aliens crawling through the air duct. Ripley and Newt get into this room that has like a spinning water wheel kind of thing going around. Newt goes in first, but she's smaller than Ripley, and she gets cycled through and drops into the water below, where Ripley can't get to her, into like a sewer, basically.
I hate water with an alien around.
Yeah, it's
green
bad.
Sewage water with something in it.
If you're already being threatened and then you have to enter water, it's just like we're land creatures. Like you're fucked.
Yeah, that's the thing with sharks, where it's like, it's rare that there's a shark attack, but if you were eaten by a shark, it would be the worst.
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 Yeah. They're so huge. They're gigantic.
Emily is particularly afraid of sharks, so she feels this deeply.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's probably not going to happen, but if it did, it'd be the scariest fucking thing you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
There's no stopping it once it starts.
There's no stopping it once it starts. If it has begun, it will end, and you will not be happy with it.
Stop the ride. Oh my God. So Ripley can't get down to reach Newt, and she's like, Newt, stay there. I'm going to run around and try and find another way to get to you. Hicks goes with her, but at this point, Vasquez and Gorman have been cut off from the rest of them. They're in a dead end of the air ducting. They've hated each other throughout the entire movie. And Gorman was very chastened after the first action sequence where he freaked out, and he's wearing a little white bandage on his head with blood on it. He's like, Ripley, I'm really sorry, I was such a coward. And she's like, it's fine, like, don't worry about it. But now he's redeemed himself. He's fought bravely. They've got a handgun. There's a little digital counter, and you see the bullets count down. They're killing aliens. Then they look to their left, there's an alien coming. They look to the right, there's an alien coming. They have no bullets left. All they have is one grenade. Vasquez or Gorman takes it out and like arms it, and Vasquez grabs it, and she's like, you always were an asshole, Gorman. And he's like, I know. And they blow themselves up together, and they kill all the aliens. Yeah,
that's a really sweet ending.
It's a sweet moment. It's a sweet end to that storyline. So now there's only 3 left, and one of them is a child who can't even use a gun.
Useless.
Yeah, Newt, you can figure out how to use a gun, Newt.
drop your stuffed bunny and try and
get rid of
it. Get a free hand.
Yeah, get a free hand. So Hicks is with Ripley. They're searching for Newt. They're running around. They see Newt in the water through the grate, and Hicks has a blowtorch, and he's sawing the grate apart to try and get to her. Newt's just waiting in the water, and you just know something's nearby. There's a lot of suspense. They're sawing it. She's like, come on. Right as he is about to do it, a giant alien rises up out of the water behind Newt, and then it cuts, and they pull the grate open, and they're like, Newt, and all they see is their bunny rabbit floating in the water.
No.
And Ripley understandably goes, no, and is, very, very upset. And Hicks is like, come on. She's like, no. And he's like, no, we can still get her. So they are running down the hallway. They get into the elevator. There's a great moment where they get in. It's been very fast paced. They hit the button, and then they're just waiting. They look, and they hit the button again, and they're just waiting. Finally, the door slowly starts to go across.
Great. That's funny.
Right as the door gets to be like 2 inches, 2 alien arms get in and starts pulling it open. He's like, stand back. Hicks puts a shotgun in its mouth and goes, eat this, and blows its head off, but acid sprays all over him. He's wearing body armor, so they're trying to get the body armor off before it eats through. So he's like, They're pulling it off. It's eating his skin. He's gravely wounded. A lot of his body is burned. And now Ripley has to carry him like with his arm over her shoulder as they like limp outside to where Bishop is. Bishop has gotten the second vehicle and picks them up. And Ripley is like, we're not fucking leaving this planet without getting her. And they all know where she is. They take all the humans back to the reactor.
Oh no, which
Bishop
is
like,
probably
of
going to
course.
explode.
Yes, and it is. There's a countdown. There's a ticking clock, a giant ticking clock. And everybody's super, into the mission. They go out there. Hicks can't go with Ripley. They land on this platform. Everything's on fire and it's starting to rumble and the whole thing is about to fall apart. And Ripley, who previously had not been, I don't think she'd used a gun for the entire movie. She has not done that yet. Now she gets all the guns that they have left, the flamethrower. She gets as much ammo she has. She gets a bunch of grenades and flares. She gets completely armed for this. And she goes, Hicks, don't let Bishop leave without me, because she still doesn't trust androids. He's like, I won't. And he's lying on the ground. He's very, very injured.
I could totally. I'm up for it. Give me a job.
So Ripley goes in and she has Newt's GPS device on her because they all have that. And she's wearing that on her wrist so she can find Newt's location. She descends down into the same area that the Marines got slaughtered in the first part of the movie, except this time she's alone and everythly's on fire and it's all going crazy. She gets down, she descends. There's a deleted scene here where she finds Paul Reiser cocooned in the wall, and he also says, kill me. And I believe she leaves him a grenade and goes, do it yourself.
Ooh. Nice.
And they hear an explosion. They go down.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Badass.
And she's going down and she's finding it and she's getting closer and closer. And then she looks down and it's Newt's watch just lying on the ground. And she picks it up. She's crying. She's very upset. And then she notices something and kind of walks into. Oh wait, no. She hears Newt's. Well, yeah.
We see Newt cocooned on the wall somewhere else, and one of the eggs hatching right next to her, and so a facehugger is coming for her,
but it hasn't gotten her yet.
And then she starts screaming, and Ripley hears it, and so Ripley runs for her.
Thank you. So yeah, Ripley gets there, shoots the egg. Saves Newt, pulls her out of the gross wall, puts her on her hip. Another trivia thing, because this probably took weeks of shooting, they created a fake doll of Newt because throughout all of this, Ripley is carrying around a 9-year-old.
Oh, that would be so hard to do.
Yeah.
So she's got to have her like mashed into her neck so you can't see it. It's much, but it works much better than the fake baby in American Sniper, in my opinion.
That's the bar.
Yeah, that's the bar. Yeah, the American Sniper baby bar. They are walking around. They're trying to get back up, and then they walk around the corner, and they hear the more baboons than you've heard in all the movies so far.
Boy!
And then they hear like a squelching sound, and I love Sigourney Weaver's performance in this whole movie, but this look in particular is just such a perfect, like, are you fucking kidding me with this shit?
She's like, it's still happening.
Because you don't even know. You see this giant white larva worm thing go and lay an egg and go and lay another egg, and they pull back and Ripley looks around. There's eggs everywhere. And they pull back, and there is the biggest alien you've ever seen with this giant, like, headdress thing, armored headdress, an even larger mouth. It's probably 20 feet tall or something like that. And it's connected like, a wasp or an ant queen. Mm-hmm. It's the alien queen. Mm-hmm. It's the thing that lays the eggs. And it's got all these arms stuck to the sides of the wall. It's an amazing shot. It's really scary. The queen seems to be able to signal to its drones or soldiers to come in, but they're all moving very slow. They're not just attacking, like they're in the egg chamber, so it's different. And they all kind of like slowly are approaching Ripley. and the queen is like, go get her. And they're walking towards her. And then Ripley turns and lights one of the eggs on fire. And the queen goes, ah, and like freaks out because it's her eggs. And then she does it like she's going to do to the next egg. And the queen's like, all right, back off. And the other aliens go away.
Oh, she's going to negotiate. The queen is going to negotiate.
So the queen starts talking, and it's Andy Serkis. No.
He can do anything.
He can do anything.
What can't he do?
So then the queen kind of fucks with her, though, and like another alien gets too close, and Ripley is like, oh, you don't fuck with me. She lights everything on fire, swings the flamethrower around in a big circle. Everything's like the queen is screaming and is like clawing at everything. Ripley is shooting. She has this look of, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like intensity on her face, just killing everything inside. She's killing the aliens. She starts throwing grenades and blowing up the room. She's just going nuts. And then she makes her escape and is running up the staircase. Behind her, you see the queen strip itself off of the huge white worm egg-laying
it's such a gross shot, the detaching from the little egg canal.
And doesn't she shoots like grenades into it and it's exploding and yolks are coming out, unformed eggs are coming out. It's disgusting.
It's so gross.
Disgusting. So she's running. She gets up to the stairs. She gets to this big. Because first she had taken this freight elevator, 100 stories into the ground or something. She gets into it. She gets in the elevator. They go to the top. They get out. Everything is even more, girders are falling. The whole place looks like it's going to collapse. She gets up there and the ship is gone. They look up and she goes, "Damn you, Bishop. Damn you, Bishop." Then they see the other elevator start to come up behind them. And the elevator comes up, and the door opens, and there's a pause. And it looks like there's nothing in there. And then the queen, who knows how to use an elevator, walks out onto the platform.
Can use an elevator?
Get out of here, queen.
Queen comes out, and they're back. They're on a cliff, basically. Like, there's nowhere to go. And Ripley goes, "Close your eyes, baby," because they're about to die, and they have no ammo. And then right when the queen's about to kill them, the ship comes down into view with the gateway or the gangway. Yeah, my vocabulary is deserting me. Extended. Bishop has a here I am look on his face. Ripley sees it. They jump onto the thing. They run up into the ship. The queen is clawing after them, and they fly away. And Bishop was like, the platform was too unstable. I just figured I'd hover out there because I didn't want to fall. They're flying away. The counter is getting down 10, 9, 8. They're up, they're getting a mile away. They're getting 2 miles away. You see the, beginnings of an explosion behind them. It reaches 0. There's a gigantic thermonuclear explosion that turns everything white. The ship is hit by a giant shockwave. They're riding it. You don't know if they're going to make it. And then they come out of it and they're safe. And they're flying back up to the spaceship.
Wow.
They land back on the spaceship. Yeah, that's what everybody probably said in the theater. It's definitely what I say every time. They get back up there. They're in the loading dock where they first got in the drop ship. And Bishop. Oh, that's when Bishop is like, the landing thing was too unstable. That's why I, scared you by flying away and scared the audience too. And Sigourney Weaver finally respects him. And she goes, "Bishop, you did good." And he's like, "Thank you." And this could be the end of the movie, but then they hear a hissing sound and they look down and there's some acid on the ground eating away into the dock. And then Bishop's chest, a giant blade comes through his chest. He starts squirting milk all over the place. He's going, "Ah!" We pull back. This queen has stowed away on the bottom of their ship and has speared him with her tail, lifts him up into her arms, grabs him and rips him in half like a doll and throws him across the room. The queen, now who towers over Ripley, looks to eat Newt, and Sigourney Weaver goes, "No, over here," draws its attention, backs away. She's like, "Newt, run!" Newt runs and hides under the floorboards once again with those grates that were so useful that they found behind the studio. Sigourney Weaver disappears. You're like, what is she doing? What is she doing? The queen is clanking all over the ground. Newt is hiding under the grates. The queen is using her very human hands to pull up grates and swoop down and try and grab her like she's a mouse. And then all of a sudden the queen hears a noise, looks over, a doorway opens, And Sigourney Weaver comes out in the loader thing from earlier in the movie with the two giant pinchers, which is about the same size as the queen. And she goes, "Get away from her, you bitch." They get into hand-to-hand combat. They're fighting. It's great. They're swooping. The queen sticks her head in between the bars of the cockpit and the mouth comes out, but it's not long enough to eat Sigourney Weaver. So it's snapping in her face. She's fighting her. Ripley pushes a control on the thing to open the door to space, basically, which creates a vacuum. Newt's holding on for dear life. The queen is sucked towards space, but in that little corridor, she like clamps her hands on the side and starts climbing up back into the ship. Sigourney Weaver is also pulled in with the whole suit, and the suit is blocking the queen's escape, but Sigourney Weaver gets out of the cockpit. She climbs against the pull of, the vacuum of space, gets on top, closes the door and blasts the queen into space. And finally they're safe.
Yeah.
And that is truly the end of the danger. The last little scene is Bishop, who is in like a bag basically, and because he was ripped in half, but he's still alive. So he's in like an android like medical bag. And Hicks, who's like severely, he's missing an arm. He's eaten by acid. He's in a hibernation chamber. And Newt is put in, and Ripley says goodnight. And then Ripley gets into her hibernation thing, and they go into space, hopefully to be rescued.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. 5 stars.
Do you think that you could just hold on when there's a door open to space? Do you think you could just hold on with your arms?
Because they do it in 2001. Everybody's like, is that possible? And Stanley Kubrick's like, I looked and it is. And you're like, all right, we trust you.
Like Stanley said,
all right. All I needed was for one person to tell me yes, and I believe it.
I looked into it.
I looked up. You can.
Cool.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was fucking great.
Such a good movie.
That was really good. Okay, so since I've had a child, it has really just been made very evident to me how many horror movies are about motherhood.
This one really is.
Children.
Yeah.
And this one definitely is. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy how often it comes up actually in movies.
Yeah. And it's so effective. Like it's
sort of the unquestionable justification of like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I'll fucking kill you over my kid, or like,
right?
It's just there. You can't fight against that,
right?
Yeah.
Wow.
The most primal of urges, not urges,
instincts.
Instincts. Yeah, that's the word.
Instincts.
The motherhood urge,
as we all know,
urge to mother,
as we all know it to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
I also recalled something that I can't remember where he said this, but there's a quote from Steven Spielberg where he says, "Everyone thinks I'm sentimental. James Cameron is sentimental." It's true. There's a lot of very raw, emotion in these things,
Also,
it's,
why is it bad to be sentimental?
I don't think so. Let men experience their emotions.
Yes.
Let men have emotion.
You both can be
that is a good thing.
Yeah, guys, just be sentimental.
Guys, you're filmmakers. That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
This makes me really curious about the other ones too now. I want to know.
Beyond Alien and Aliens, I have not seen I haven't seen any of the Prometheus. Whatever. I've seen Predator, but I haven't seen, because then it becomes Alien versus Predator type situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, baby.
Alien versus Predator, we're just getting into a very different direction than these. I enjoyed a lot of Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but just because I love the first two so much, I almost have to separate those two pairs as two different series in my mind, because they get a little bit more into the history of how the aliens came to be in those other movies. And there's a part of me that's like, I don't care. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
It just works as an unknown thing. Like, it's just something that comes out of space and we don't know where it came from. Like, there's just such a tendency with all this IP now is like, we have to find out, the most famous being like, well, how did Darth Vader become Darth Vader? How did this become this?
Right,
like, where did these people meet each other? It's like, I don't care. Like, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, especially we talk about this a lot with horror, that like that is often where horror sort of goes off the rails, because the more you explain something, sometimes the less interesting it becomes and the less scary. It's sort of like, what if we just didn't know? And we could just be like, that's scary in its own right. But, the more you can explain it, the more movies you can make, and the more...
Even in like non-horror things, like in that Sopranos episode where I don't know if you guys have seen The Sopranos, but no?
I've seen some of it.
Guys, let's watch it. There's a famous episode where two characters go take this Russian into the woods to kill him, and he gets away.
I have seen that one. I've seen like the first half of the show, but it's good. That one I've seen.
That one, it's like, and then they never find him. He escapes, and they wound him, and they don't know if he's dead. And the show never answers it. And fans were like, "Well, is he dead or is he alive?" And they're like, "I don't care. Like, I'm not going to tell you. Like,
right? Yeah,
you don't know."
That's the tension of that episode. Is like, exactly. Sometimes,
exactly.
Sometimes in life, exactly. Sometimes we don't get answers, and you just got to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I mean, it's when you think of things, it's like with the Kennedy assassination, it's like we'll just never know. Like, there's stuff now that's just like, no, we'll never know for sure what happened. We'll just never know.
Like, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we'll just never know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So, but people will think they know. There are plenty of people out there who are convinced that they know.
I could probably figure it out.
Well, we're all doing our own research, you know?
You're doing your own research. You can figure it out.
I'll figure it out. I can probably figure it out. Oh wow, that was excellent storytelling, Haley. You really took us on a
Thank you.
Really
I hope I didn't just ramble. Like that movie just is like
truly.
It was riveting, and also there was so much like background that was just woven in seamlessly that we got. So much like perfect trivia that we just never would have known otherwise. So
awesome.
Yeah,
excellent.
In the end times when it's just this, we're calling on you.
I'll do it.
Haley, tell us a movie.
You guys ever seen Ratatouille? Well, settle around.
To hear you say Ratatouille.
You guys seen a movie called Up? Well, let me narrate a famously wordless first.
Perfect.
I'm there.
Oh, man. Well, that was super fun.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for doing it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
Well, famously, here we are, very obsessed with Toni Collette and believe her to be just undeniably perfect. And we just have to know, is she?
It's true. Yep.
It's true.
It's true.
And what blows my mind is I think she was 26 when she did The Sixth Sense.
That's
another movie
serious?
where motherhood is very, very, very important to the story. Yeah.
Whoa.
Doing a great Philly accent. Decades before Mare of Easttown, she was doing a great Philly. Coming from Australia, doing a Philly accent. Like, yeah, it was.
Dude.
Her Philly accent was so good. Also, she's my style icon in Sixth Sense. Like, everything she wears. Her nails, her like gold jewelry. It's like
the orange sweater.
Lime green, like turtleneck. God damn.
Yeah.
Her lip liner, everything.
So good.
26.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so great. Like, and now that she has, in a different time doing Hereditary, and this, like, her horror record is so amazing.
And Krampus.
Krampus.
Yes.
Can't forget about Krampus.
I think we've covered all of the Toni horrors, right? I feel like we did. What was the other one?
Tony Horror Picture Show?
Tony Horror Picture Show. Why can't we say the picture is the word? The Tony Horror Picture Show.
The Tony Horror Picture Show.
Picture Show. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, Fright Night's the other one.
Oh yeah,
Fright Night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is great. This is great news. Thank you for that.
We love her. It's great news. It's great news.
I can confirm she is awesome.
For us personally, it's great news.
Yeah.
Well, and also Haley, I mean, Kominsky Method on Netflix. What things do you wish for our listeners to
check
out?
We got Kominsky Method, which is available on Netflix. We have the final season of Goliath, which is available on Amazon Prime. I did a film earlier this year called Not an Artist with Matt Walsh, the RZA, Alexi Pappas, and many other great people and improvisers. Yes, Betsy Sidaro, who's fantastic. I heard the episode she did with you guys, which was hilarious.
We fucking love Betsy.
She's the best. And then just recently I did a movie with Allison Brie and Dave Franco, which they wrote and he directed, called Somebody I Used to Know, with Jay Ellis and Kiersey Clemens and a bunch of other great people.
Wait, is this when you went to the Overlook? I can't believe I forgot to ask you.
Oh, yeah, that's when I was there. Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it just crazy because, it was only an hour outside of Portland when we were shooting. I was like, I have a Saturday. I'm just going to drive and take a couple photos and walk around a bit. I thought it was in like Colorado or something.
That's what the movie sets it. But
Yeah.
but in real life, it's in out there.
Yeah,
That's
but
so
it's super
crazy.
cool. And just like I could go off on Kubrick forever, but like the hotel is a rabbit warren. Like there's very few big rooms. Like it was built in the 30s from the
creepy.
works. Was it a WPA thing? It was like a Roosevelt thing.
Interesting.
And very, very interesting. And inside it's just stone. It's like a castle. There's fire pits and everything. So the fact that he made you believe that there was something like the banquet hall and that was physically possible when
like,
it totally
room.
isn't. Yeah. All those, the giant, like there's no way. Yeah. It's spatially that movie. That was other than just it being cool to be there. I was like, wow, to see in person just how distorted all the spaces in that movie are was just really, really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
beautiful. Mount Hood's beautiful too.
Listeners, check those things out. And I guess no voices really in this one.
Baboons, though, you guys. How could you forget?
What are the voices?
We usually sign off with a voice from the film.
Like an accent if there is one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to do the baboons, though.
It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough.
Could also just do Hudson's over the top.
Game over, man.
Game over, man.
So from all of us here at Too Scary Didn't Watch, goodbye. Game over, man.
Game over, man.
Game over, man.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Too Scary Didn't Watch. I'm here to remind you to head on over to Apple Podcasts where you can rate, review, and subscribe if you had as much fun as we did. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at TSDW Podcast. We're also on Patreon at patreon.com/TSDW Podcast. You can sign up for access to things like bonus episodes, bingo cards, send in suggestions, all that type of thing. I think that's it, except for the fact that we love you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, see you next week.